Welcome to this session of the in the Oxford Real Farming Conference. Our session will be on rehabilitation through agroecology, surviving the floods in Pakistan and Bangladesh. As you have noticed in the last few years, we have witnessed an increase in the occurrence and intensity of extreme climate events, notably with heat waves, droughts, floods, and wildfires affecting different regions of the globe indiscriminately. Today, the lives of around 3.3 billion people are at risk due to climate change and the potential loss of human lives, forced displacement, and migration, including loss of productive capacity, and all of that is going to be devastating. In the developing countries, particularly low-income countries, which suffers from the lack of safety nets and resources to deal with the impact of climate change, these countries and the people and their citizens will face enormous economic damage, loss of land and resources, livelihoods, cultural heritage and traditions, and even lives. Hunger and malnutrition have increased with the climate crisis, and the changing climate patterns are also disrupting local production, decreasing yields of tropical and temperate crops, and making food more expensive. The world loses 24 billion tons of fertile land each year, and that the decline is also in land quality. More people are now more at risk, with children and women being the most vulnerable to hunger and malnutrition and increasing poverty. This session, we are going to look at what happened in Pakistan, the devastation, the loss of lives, and we will have the stories. And Bangladesh, there's also a very interesting and very hopeful solution to climate change that they have, that they are facing. And we will hear the stories of how people are actually working together and building more resilience. The session will be start with Chito Medina, a scientist, member of MASIPAC and its former executive director from the Philippines. He's an agriculturalist, ecologist, and environmental scientist. And he has been working with farmers in developing practical climate change resilience and agroecology for 37 years. He's from the academe, but working really with the farmers through various processes, and MASIPAC is one of the major processes that he has been involved in. Then we will have Asif Khan, a peasant leader. Asif, can you switch on your video? Asif is a peasant leader and one of the steering committee members of Pakistan Kissan Mazdoor Tehreek, a small and landless farmers' mass movement that remains committed to sensitize, mobilize, and organize rural communities for campaigns on the right to land, right to food, right to all productive resources, most importantly, seed. Mr. Khan is also an organic intellectual and community educator. We also have the privilege of having Wali from Haider from the Asian Peasants Coalition, who will be helping to interpret and translate from what Asif will be sharing with us. Then finally, we will have Morshed Sakiul Millat, the executive director of Chito, a CSO in Bangladesh, and pioneer of the community enterprise approach for floodplain fisheries management. and it has been initiated in 1995, and some really wonderful successes are, a result of these wonderful way of working together to use the flood to build communities' resilience. So you will be hearing more from him, in the course of this session. I am Sarojeni Rengam with Pesticide Action Network and the Executive Director, and we are working towards the elimination of hazards of pesticides and towards the promotion of agroecology. I've been involved in these issues for the last 30 over years, and this is issues that are very close to my heart and to the work that we are doing. So please join us and have. Please feel free to ask questions, comment, and we are quite open to those questions and comments later, an hour after we start. So I would now like to call Chito Medina to give us the overview of climate change and its impacts. Chito, the floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon from the Philippines. I will be sharing to you the overall concept or thinking on climate crisis and the need for responsive policies and actions. This will be somehow the flow of my presentation, an overview, and then the ineffective market-based mechanisms of addressing climate change, resilience, and then adaptation through agroecology and mitigation, and then climate justice and the way forward. Actually, climate change is really there. It's a real thing, and it's very becoming very dangerous, shall I say, because without reducing the emissions, global annual temperatures can increase by 2.5 to 7 degrees centigrade using the benchmark or baseline period of the pre-industrial level in 1800s, and the tipping point is expected to be about 2 degrees centigrade, wherein irreversible and potentially catastrophic impacts to which societies and ecosystems will not be able to adapt. So this will be a catastrophic scenario or possibility if we cannot effectively stop the climate change. The latest report in 2022, last year, by the World Meteorological Organization, was already an increase of 1.29 degrees centigrade based on the pre-industrial levels of carbon dioxide. Overall, just an overview, look at the lower right hand of this issue. The methane gas and nitrous oxide are mostly coming from land use change and agriculture. So these are the biggest things, greenhouse gases that are contributing to global warming. Normally, farming, they say, is about 11 to 15 or most often 18% in contribution to the total climate change. But a study of the Genetic Resources Action International, or GRAIN, an NGO, international NGO, said that the contribution of the industrial food system can be as high as 44 or up to 57% of all greenhouse gases. And one of the greatest irony here in climate change is that those who contribute to the least greenhouse gases will be the most impacted by climate change, be it at the level of the country, be it the level of the community, or a location specific on a global scale. Last year, the World Risk Index is presented. The Philippines is number one, where I live. And out of the top 10 risky countries, 7 of them are from Asia. Only Colombia and Mexico from Central and South America, as well as Mozambique in Africa, are among the top 10. The rest, 7 of them are in Asia. The climate change brings about so many things that are direct and indirect, causing destruction of properties as well as affecting agriculture and food production that ultimately can lead to food crisis, typhoons and cyclones, droughts, floods and typhoon surge, saltwater intrusion, ocean acidification. One thing that is not talked much about is the extreme and erratic weather that is very important among farmers when to plant, when to harvest. Pests and diseases, landslides, melting of ice, forest fires, among others. And that all of these activities are becoming wider in geographic scale, more intense, or more frequent. Any of this, or almost all of this, many of these can cause crop failures and ultimately global food crisis. The complicated effects of climate change range in so many aspects like physical systems, economy, human health, and so in this case, it's almost affecting the whole life of human beings, the survival of human on Earth. Market-based mainstream mitigation to climate change, specifically through the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC, are mostly about green economy, which are actually, most of these are not effective at the, especially at the farm level or community level. Biofuels, climate smart agriculture, which are GMOs, the reduction of emission due to deforestation and carbon trading, other things like technological geoengineering, crop insurance, all of this misses the central point, that is they ensure continued use of fossil fuel and they do not switch to renewable energy. Market-based mitigations approaches perpetuate climate change because they exacerbate the problem. Those who contribute the least emissions per capita suffer most of the impacts of climate change. That was mentioned earlier in my previous slide. Also, climate change is smart agriculture, which are GMOs. They promote genetic uniformity of crops, therefore, or monoculture, therefore, susceptibility to pests and diseases occur in the long run. And this, all of this climate smart agriculture are dependent on chemical inputs. Therefore, they're not sustainable, they are not applicable for small scale farmers. The clean development mechanisms of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, the tree plantations and agrofuels, the issues there is that it displaces indigenous people. It competes with food production in terms of land devoted to either food or biofuels, agrofuels, and tree plantations, and monoculture plantations, which are ecologically unstable. On the other hand, the carbon trading in the clean development mechanism is that the corporations and industrial countries pay projects to develop countries while they continue polluting. So this kind of license to pollute are not even effective because most of the payment goes to consultants that assess how much greenhouse gases are being mitigated, and only minimal goes to farmers who are practicing capture of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. In fact, some of this, I saw that the presentation of PKMT and Stage for Equity next to me in my presentation will be a new form of colonialism. They call it carbon colonialism. They will elaborate on that. The recently concluded Conference of Parties number 27 of the UNFCCC in Egypt last November focused on loss and damage fund for vulnerable countries. While it may be acceptable or maybe good step, the problem it missed the more important aspects to limit global temperature increase to the 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial level, so that we can arrest the further degradation of the environment through global warming. Generally, what is more important, the more genuine approaches to cool the planet are as an alternative to the more formal things are low carbon, carbon neutral society, agroecology, which will be discussed by the two presenters after me, using organic, diversified, regenerative agriculture that are farmers controlled technology as well as resources. There should be a shift from industrial food chain to local food web system. In general, the principles of having resilience is that we have to maintain, or in agriculture and food systems, diversity has to be maintained and redundancy in order to have more insurance in nature. Manage connectivity of elements of the systems and food systems, manage slow variables and feedbacks so that we are prepared for any eventuality of changes in the environment, foster complex adaptive systems thinking, encourage learning, broaden participation, that is participatory approaches, and it should promote polycentric governance systems, meaning the decision making at lower level, at the family, community, township or municipal, provincial, regional level should have governance systems in order to be more resilient. Agroecology for climate change adaptation and mitigation. The cornerstone here is agroecology, and agroecology among many people is most often environmental or ecological. These are the things: sustainability, resilient, synergy, diversity, efficiency, healthy soil and nutrient cycling. But we must use the broader context of agroecology that it has economic dimensions about local markets and host control of the markets, sociocultural and political, who owns the technology, and participation of people. Farmers' empowerment are important also in this kind of agroecology. Some specific agroecological adaptation to address climate change, the use of biodiversity to spread the risk in agriculture. The farmers must secure their own resources. There should be reduced exposure to economic risks. Therefore, those that are bought from the market should be reduced, and the farmers should be dependent more on those that they produce, so that they will not be experiencing lots of losses when there is damage due to climate change. Diversifying livelihood and source of income, conserving use and locally available natural resources. Among small-scale farmers, number 6 is survival crops is important, like root crops or tuber crops like sweet potato, cassava, gabi, or other root crops. And we should not forget that also social solutions, the farmers' ideas, knowledge, and approaches, and through their organizations to help one another are also important adaptation strategies in agroecology. Adaptation is possible only, however, up to a certain level of global warming. Beyond the tipping point, when ecosystem structures, ecosystem services can no longer have resilience, no amount of adaptation is effective beyond this tipping point. The estimated tipping point actually is about 2 degrees centigrade, but 1.5 degrees centigrade is still already has critical effect on our food system and ourselves. I have mentioned already that the World Meteorological Organization has reported an increase of 1.9 degrees centigrade from the reference point or base reference point of during the Industrial Revolution in Europe, that is the 1800. In agroecology, some mitigating strategies is to conserve the forest, of course, because deforestation contributes 15 to 18% of the greenhouse gases because of the burning of the release of carbon dioxide and carbon compounds from the biomass of the forests. Organic farming, we should make the soil not sink rather than a source of greenhouse gases. it is on the average fixing about 2 to 4 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per hectare per year under organic, full-time organic condition. Stopping or using organic, stopping the use of nitrogen chemical fertilizers is so important because nitrogen fertilizers produce nitrous oxide, which is about 300 to 310 carbon dioxide equivalent. And also, we should also establish local markets for shorter food mileage and that is less burning of fossil oil.
Yeah. Chito, can you wrap up?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. So organic farming is there more important. And then climate justice should be followed, that there should be bigger responsibility from historical polluters, the industrialized countries and industrial corporations. The urgency mitigation should delay is climate injustice. There should be intergenerational justice, that is the present and future generations, and procedural justice or participatory mechanism should be endorsed, should be followed. The way forward, we should be having carbon neutral policy and programs. You should change industrial farming into agroecology and regenerative agriculture. We should support local initiatives for resilience to climate change with and by farmers. We should demand climate justice now and climate emergency now. Thank you very much. Business as usual is no longer an option. We need to address climate change. Thank you very much, Saro.
Thank you, Chito. That was very good. It was a very good and intense discussion in terms of the overview of what causes climate change, and you talked about the colonial roots, the of the climate crisis in the global south. You know, the north actually producing and basically contributing to climate change, and the people who are really suffering are those in the south, in developing countries that have major impact. So I think thank you for that. We'll move on now to Asif, Asif Khan with Wali. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji. Wali, bolu. Hello, Wali,
Asif bhai? Ji, Asif bhai, aap baat karo. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, if you can put it in full screen mode, that would be wonderful. You can do that. Yep, you got that. That's the button right there.
Okay.
Yeah, just left click on it and then it should go.
Okay.
Perfect.
दुनिया इस वक्त साम्राज्यी जाल में फंसी हुई है। ये साम्राज्य सरमायादाराना अजारादारी को मजीद अपनी मुट्ठी में बंद करने के लिए वसाइल, मजदूर और मौसम का शदीद इस्तेसाल कर रहा है। इसको मजीद मुनाफा कमाने के लिए किसी की परवाह नहीं। वो जंगों की सूरत में इंसानी खून से खेल रहा है। जी वली।
So the current mode of production, which is capitalism, is harming labor, resources, and using climate for their own profit and vested interests, and implementing war of aggression across the globe.
ये साम्राज्य मंडी पर कब्जा के लिए खुराक का बोरान और भूख बढ़ा रहा है और सरमायादाराना अजारादारी के लिए मौसम का शदीद इस्तेसाल कर रहा है। याद रहे, पाकिस्तान का मौसमी बुरान में 1% भी हिस्सा नहीं, मगर सबसे ज्यादा मुतासर होने वाले ममालिक में शामिल है। मौसमी बुरान के जिम्मेदार G7 और G8 के ममालिक हैं। इन्हीं की करतूतों में से हालिया पाकिस्तान में शदीद किस्म का मौसमी बुरान और शदीद बारिशें हुई हैं।
So the cause of the climate crisis across the globe is the industrial mode of production and G7 countries particularly are responsible for the crisis. And the story I'm going to share with you, which is specific to Pakistan, is one of the prime example of the climate crisis.
एक खौफनाक मौसमी बुरहान जिसका पाकिस्तान शिकार हुआ और जिसमें 1739 इंसानी अमवात हुई, 1.164 मिलियन जानवर हलाक हुए, तकरीबन 33 मिलियन आबादी मुतासर हुई। एक पॉइंट याद रखना कि ये सारी जो आफत आई है ये मेहनत कशों पे ही आई है, कोई और तबका ज्यादा मुतासर नहीं हुआ। जी वली।
So the monster monsoon happened since June to August. Consecutive rains impacted 1,733 deaths, 1.164 million livestock loss, and around 33 million population have been heavily impacted. And you need to also understand that all of the effect goes to the peasants and the working class of Pakistani society.
मौसमी तब्दीली के लिए पाकिस्तान की कमजोरी 1999 के बाद पाकिस्तान ग्लोबल क्लाइमेट रिस्क इंडेक्स में सरफहरिस्त 10 ममालिक में शामिल है। आलमी कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड खारिज करने में, जैसे मैं पहले बोल चुका हूँ, 1% से भी कम हिस्सा है। पाकिस्तान में दर्जा हरारत की बहुत बड़ी शिद्दत है, जिसके नतीजे में 2022 में मानसून बारिशें जून के वस्त में 3 माह तक जारी रहीं। आमतौर पर मामूल से तकरीबन 3 गुना ज़्यादा बारिशें हुई। पाकिस्तान में 7000 ग्लेशियर हैं और वो मुसलसल पिघल रहे हैं, और मुतअद्दिद बर्फानी तोदे गिरने से भी पाकिस्तान में शदीद जो सैलाब है इनमें इजाफा होता है इन ग्लेशियर की वजह से। पाकिस्तान में सबसे ज़्यादा ग्लेशियर बर्फ कुतबी इलाकों से बाहर मौजूद है। जी वली।
So Pakistan is one of the vulnerable country to climate change, and you can understand, and Dr. Medina also had shared the climate risk index. Pakistan was there also, Bangladesh was there. So Pakistan is, since 1999, Pakistan is among the top 10 climate vulnerable country, whereas Pakistan is only responsible less than 1% of global carbon emission. And these resulted into extreme temperature changes in Pakistan. And currently the story I'm sharing, 2022 monsoon, territorial rains started mid-June for 3 months. And that rains is in general 3 times more than rainfall than normal, which used to be. If you talk to the communities, they will be saying they have, some of them have say older people that they have never seen such a rainfall. And it's been continuous melting of Pakistani 7,000 glacier with several glacier outburst floods. Country hold the most glacier ice found outside the polar region.
मानसून के 4 महीने बाद छोटे और बेजमीन किसानों पर असरात। मैंने अपनी आंखों से, हमने वहाँ पे देखा जो हालात थे वो बताने के काबिल नहीं है कि वहाँ पे इंसानियत की कैसे तजलील हुई और इंसान किस हालात में उन बारिशों और सैलाब के बाद वहाँ पे जो जिंदा रह रहे थे। लेकिन इसके बावजूद भी वहाँ पे जो हमने नुकसानात देखे, वहाँ की जितनी भी तैयार फसलें उस वक्त थी वो सारी तबाह हो गई, खासकर काटन की फसल, उसके अलावा वहाँ पे गन्ना की फसल, और सबसे बड़ी बात वहाँ किसानों के पास जो उनके गुज़र-औक़ात के लिए घर में जो गंदम का अनाज ज़ख़ीरा था और चारा था, बिल्कुल वो तबाह था। और उसके साथ साथ पाकिस्तान किसान मजदूर तहरीक देसी और रवायती बीजों को बढ़ाने के लिए सीड बैंक लगाती है, वो भी हमने ज़ाया किए, वहाँ पे हमने खो दिए इस मौसमी बुरहान से। और रोजगार पे भी वहाँ सबसे बड़ा जो असर पड़ा किसानों और मेहनतकश तबके पे, और रोजगार का सबसे बड़ा असर पड़ा। उनका जरिया माश तबाह हो गया क्योंकि ज़मीन ज़ेर आब आ गई। कपास की खड़ी फसल जो बिल्कुल तैयार थी वो तबाह हो गई, और इससे वहाँ की जो अकलीतें हैं और ख़ासकर मजदूर औरत जो है, जो अपने कुछ माह के लिए अपनी गुजर बसर कपास की चुनाई पे करती है, वो बिल्कुल तबाह थी। जी वली।
So the current situation after the 4 month of monsoon impact are widespread destruction of almost ready harvested crop. You have Asif mentioned one of the major crop was cotton and sugar cane and many others. And rice crop also was ready at that time. And then stored wheat, grain, and fodder, which is not just for humans and for also livestock. The fodder has been wiped out because water was standing on the field for months. And not just that, PKMT, the Pakistan Kissan Mazdoor Tehreek, who has in these very districts which have been affected, the collective and individual seeds banks to save our local indigenous seeds, that also been wiped out. On front of the livelihood, cotton is one of the major crop which we consider for livelihood, particularly for women. The standing cotton crop have destroyed, and women livelihood had been heavily impacted because women are the one who does the cotton picking in the cotton picking seasons. And hence the minorities and the women agriculture worker especially impacted by this crisis.
इस वक्त भी पाकिस्तान के जिला सिंध के कई अजला में पानी खड़ा है। उसके अलावा बीज और खाद की कीमतें इतनी ज़्यादा हैं कि जिनका रोजगार ही नहीं रहा वो कैसे ये खरीदेंगे। किसानों ने कुछ इलाकों में गंदम की बुवाई की है, कुछ इलाकों में गंदम की बुवाई मुमकिन ही नहीं क्योंकि पानी खड़ा है। कुछ इलाकों में ज़मीन की हालत की वजह से गंदम की उगाई नाकुस हो रही है, या वक्त से पहले या हो ही नहीं रही। गन्ने की फसल जो बच गई थी, अब पता चला उसमें भी 50% गन्ना की जो फसल है वो खराब हो गई है। उसके अलावा माल मवेशियों पर भी बहुत बुरे असरात पड़ रहे हैं अभी सैलाब के बाद, क्योंकि मच्छरों ने इतना शदीद हमला किया जिससे इंसानी सेहत को भी शदीद मसला हुआ और जानवर भी। और किसान, ये भी एक बात याद रखने, किसान का जो वहाँ के किसानों का सबसे बड़ा जो रोजगार है ज़मीन के अलावा माल मवेशी था, तो माल मवेशी भी इतने ज़्यादा किसानों के हाथ से चले गए कि उनका एक रोजगार का ये सिलसिला भी बंद हो गया। अच्छा, जो जानवर बच गए उनमें चारे की कमी और बीमारी की वजह से वो भी मर रहे हैं, और वहाँ का जो चारा है किसानों के पास जो पहले अपना कुछ ना कुछ हो जाता था वो इतना महंगा हो गया है कि अब वो किसान खरीदने से कासिर हैं। और इसके अलावा वहाँ के किसानों और मजदूरों पे जो नई आफत आई है इस सैलाब से, पानी से जो बीमारियां आई हैं, क्योंकि वहाँ पे हुकूमत ने तो कुछ किया ही नहीं, वहाँ पे डॉक्टर नहीं भेजे, वहाँ पे कुछ तशखीस के लिए कुछ नहीं हुआ, तो क्या क्या बीमारियां हैं वो भी आंखों से ओझल हैं। लेकिन अभी जो जल्द की बीमारी, गैस्ट्रो और ये जो हैजा की बीमारियां और एलर्जी, यही हम देख रहे हैं। अंदर जो बीमारियां हैं उनको अल्लाह ही को पता है क्या है। जी वली।
So even now, standing water across many districts in Sindh. And apart from that, seed and fertilizer prices are gone up, skyrocketing price hike in agriculture inputs. And you can, at one hand, they have this crisis, they have lost their crops and they have lost their all income. And on the another hand, pursuing the next wheat season, every input has been risen. Farmer has sown wheat in some areas, but in some areas it is still not possible because water are there. And wheat is considered one of the important major food crop for us. In some areas, early germination or poor germination, wheat being seen due to soil condition, because if water is even not there, the water soil condition is not up to the mark so that it germinate well, or in some cases it germinate earlier than it is supposed to be. It was hoped that sugarcane crop have been saved because it's need more water than other crops, but ultimately it's been proven that only 50% of the sugarcane crop can survive. Apart from that, on the health side, intense attack of mosquitoes on livestock and human being both. Livestock is still dying because of the lack of fodder and disease. Since fodder have destroyed and no crops are there to feed them, so lack of food and diseases are resulting into death of livestock. And you need to understand that livestock is the one of the major livelihood for the rural communities, especially for small and landless farmer. And even in this situation, they can't save their livestock, and the fodder prices have extremely gone up. So even if they have saved the livestock, but they can't maintain the cost of the maintaining of livestock. And many kind of waterborne diseases and gastro and other skin diseases can be seen even now in the areas. And this toxic water in many of the areas you can still find in the field.
पाकिस्तान किसान मजदूर तहरीक मज़ामत पे यकीन रखती है। हम इन सैलाबों को, इन बारिशों को ना ही खुदा की तरफ से मानते हैं, ना ही अपना मुकद्दर मानते हैं। ये इन जागीरदारों और साम्राज्य की वजह से हमारे ऊपर अजाब आया, हमारे मेहनत कशों पे। तो पाकिस्तान किसान मजदूर तहरीक इसके खिलाफ खड़ी है। और सबसे पहले हमने अपनी बसात के मुताबिक रिलीफ का काम किया, और रिलीफ के बाद यकजहती और इन बुरानों से निपटने के लिए और इनके तदारक के लिए पाकिस्तान किसान मजदूर तहरीक बरसरे पैकार है। जी वली।
Pakistan Kissan Mazdoor Tehreek believes that these climate disasters are not natural. It's a cause of imperialist forces and capitalist mode of production. And we need to fight back. And Pakistan Kissan Mazdoor Tehreek is fighting back. In this situation, through the relief and rehabilitation work and building solidarity and building unity among the affected communities.
रिलीफ के काम में पीकेएमटी ने सबसे पहले वहां पे उस मुसीबत के वक्त अगर किसी अदारे से या किसी तरफ से कोई उन लोगों के पास कोई पहुंचा तो वो पाकिस्तान किसान मजदूर तहरीक के ही नुमाइंदे थे। सबसे पहले हमने वहां पे मेम्बरान तक पहुंचे, वहां पे हमने देखा कि हमारे किसानों की हालत जार क्या है और अभी हम क्या कर सकते हैं। तो सबसे पहले सेक्रेटेरिएट की तरफ से 4.5 मिलियन रुपए की एहतियात की सूरत में गठा किया गया। फिर वहां पे जरूरतमंद, जो सबसे ज्यादा जरूरतमंद हमारे मेम्बरान थे, उनके घरों तक खुराक, खुश खुराक और दीगर जरूरियात जो उनको जिंदा रहने के लिए फौरी चीजें थी, वो अपनी बसात के मुताबिक हमने पहुंचाई। उसके बाद जब सर्द मौसम शुरू हुआ तो वहाँ रजाइयाँ और कंबल की शदीद ज़रूरत पड़ी। तो फिर उन्हीं इलाकों की ख़वातीन से पीकेएमटी ने रजाइयाँ बनवाई ताकि उनका रजाई का मसला भी हल हो और कुछ ना कुछ उनके रोजगार और माश का भी बंदोबस्त हो जाए। इसके अलावा गंदम का बीज पाकिस्तान किसान मजदूर तहरीक ने अपने मेम्बरान किसान भाइयों तक पहुँचाया और मवेशियों का चारा भी मुमकिन हद तक उनको पाकिस्तान किसान मजदूर तहरीक ने मुहैया किया है। जी वली।
अच्छा आसिफ भाई, इसके बाद आपने 2-3 स्लाइड छोड़ के वो वाली करनी है, डिसमेंटल क्लाइमेट इंपीरियलिज्म को का खात्मा वाला, वहां से करनी, क्योंकि टाइम नहीं है। So I just got I'm sorry guys, I just got message from Saro that I have less time, but some 2 important slides are left. So this is one of the way of fighting back. We have relief work and SOS call been disseminated all of our network to friends and individuals, family, and we got a note not from any donor, 4.5 million rupees, and we distributed rations, food, livelihood for women, and generation, income generation, and distribution of livestock and fodder. Yes, Asif, go to the slide which says, जो कहता है कि dismantle climate imperialism का खात्मा वाली स्लाइड से शुरू करें.
सियासी तालीम के जरिए मौसमियाती साम्राज्य को खत्म करें, यही वाली ना?
जी हाँ, जल्दी.
ठीक है. पाकिस्तान जैसे पहले बात हुई कि शदीद मौसमी बुरहान के शिकंजे में है, और इससे पहले बात हुई कि ये हमारा पैदा करदा नहीं है, ये साम्राज्य का है. और पाकिस्तान किसान मजदूर तहरीक अपने अवाम, अपने किसान और मेहनतकशों को इस साम्राज्य और इस जालिम सरमायादाराना निज़ाम के खात्मे के लिए इस मौसमी बुरहान को हम मुस्बत और अपना एक आला के तौर पर इस्तेमाल करने के लिए अभी साम्राज्यियत के खात्मे और उसकी चालें जो आज़ादाना तजारत और मंडी पर कब्जा और जितने भी न्यू लिबरल पॉलिसियां हैं, इनको उजागर करने के लिए और इनका मनहूस चेहरा, मकरू चेहरा दिखाने के लिए सियासी तालीम के ज़रिए अपने किसानों और मेहनतकशों को हम सेंसिटाइज कर रहे हैं, उनको अरोज कर रहे हैं. और वसाइल पे कब्जा के लिए जो ये साम्राज्य जितनी हम खून की होली खेल रहा है, जंगें क्यों हो रही हैं, जंगों की वजह क्या है, ये सारे जो जितनी भी सियासत है ये साम्राज्य की और न्यू लिबरल की पॉलिसियों की, ये हम अपने किसानों को एक मुनज़्ज़म और एक तरतीब के तरीके से अभी हमने ये शुरू की है कि जो मौसमी बुरहान है इसका जिम्मेदार और इसका तदारक कैसे है. जी वली.
So the solution for this climate crisis, which is going to continue and consistent, dismantling of climate imperialism, and we feel that political education is very important. The communities and the workers and masses need to understand imperialism and their new liberal policies and the politics behind the war of aggressions. What are the real causes of widespread environmental destruction and degradation, climate disaster, destruction of food systems? We need to give political education to the masses to organize and sensitize so that we can dismantle the climate imperialism which is happening to us.
एग्रोकेमिकल TNCs और एग्रोकेमिकल पैदावार का बाइकॉट, GEO और दीगर नाम नहाद मौसमी स्मार्ट झूठे हल के खिलाफ मुसल्लह इक़दामात, फॉसल फ्यूल पर मबनी पैदावार के खिलाफ मज़ामत, छोटे और बेज़मीन किसानों खास तौर पर ख़वातीन, नौजवान और अक़लियत के ग़ज़ाई तहफ़्फ़ुज़ और ख़ुद मुख्तारी के तहफ़्फ़ुज़ के लिए इज्तिमाई मनसूबाबंदी, हकीकी ज़री इस्लाहात के लिए मुकामी किसानों और मुकामी दानिश की बुनियाद पर मज़ामत की तामीर, वसी पैमाने पर ज़री एग्रो इकोलॉजी को फ़रोग़ देना और नाफज करना. जी वली.
So resistance and our demand and our mobilization is to boycott agrochemical TNCs and agrochemical production. Militant action against genetically engineering and other so-called climate smart false solutions. Resist fossil fuel-based production model. Plan and build community collective to safeguard food security and food sovereignty of small and landless farmers, especially women, children, and minorities. Build community-based resistance for genuine agrarian reform. Promote and implement wide-scale agroecological-based agriculture.
ये सैलाब, ज़लज़ले और कोविड-19 यकीनन एक हकीकत है, लेकिन हम अपने हुक्मरानों और इस साम्राज्य को ये बहाना नहीं करने देंगे, इनको बहाना ये ज़लज़ले और सैलाब का बनाने नहीं देंगे, क्योंकि हकीकी तौर पर ये हमारे किसानों और मेहनतकश तबके का इस्तेसाल की वजह नहीं है. ये तो एक जलती पे तेल का काम किया इन सैलाबों ने. असल जो है इन तमाम बुरानों से निकलने का वो निज़ाम की तब्दीली है, और इसका वाहिद हल है कि निज़ाम की तब्दीली, मेहनतकशों का पैदावारी वसाइल पर कब्जा और अख्तियार और फैसला साजी पर अख्तियार। ऐसा कोई अदालती निज़ाम नहीं है जो हमें हमारे हकूक़ दे सके। ये सिर्फ हमारी अपनी मज़ामत और इंसानी हकूक़ के लिए मुसल्लह जदोजहद है जो हमें एक मुनसफ़ाना निज़ाम दे सकती है। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
यही तो खर्च लो। So the flood, earthquake, COVID-19, these are realities, but we will not give a space to those who are responsible for these very crises, which is in shape of flood, earthquake or COVID, because they are now making excuse that we are going through this severe crisis. Those very forces, the capitalist forces, the imperial forces are responsible for this crisis and will expose them. And we believe that this judicial system is not going to help them. And to that, we will not going to get our rights. It's the only our own resistance and fight for human rights and can give us an equitable, just system. Long live international solidarity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Asif and Wali, for the translation. Really, Pakistan, you know, you're talking about 33 million being affected just recently in last year, and so much of impact and devastation. So the call is for solidarity and campaigning and to dismantle climate imperialism through political education of the communities and everyone of us, and to build resistance against those capitalist and imperialist forces that continue to basically, you know, grab land and resources and push for unsustainable systems, including in food and agriculture production. So now we'll move on to Sakiul Millat Morshed to give his presentation, to give us hope, I hope. Morshed, it's all yours.
Thank you, Saro. I think this is a real good opportunity for us, for our community, to share our experience in what we are doing in last 25 years in Bangladesh. You know that Bangladesh is also a flood affected country, and it's a very low altitude, so that there is a high risk for climate effect would be very much severe in Bangladesh context as well. So we facing this climate problem, we initiated an approach in Bangladesh since 96. So just to give you an idea that you can see this map that Bangladesh is very low-lying area, and almost 2.8 million hectares of floodplain in Bangladesh. And if there's a big flood, it could go up to 60% of all land can go underwater. I mean, can be submerged. So due to this climate change, we'll have face more problem. So this initiative, this climate community enterprise-based floodplain aquaculture initiative, which is an environment-friendly community-led collective initiatives, it initiated to solve this flash flood and flood water logging problem in our community. So what do you mean by this community enterprise? It is just a community-led initiative, collective initiative by the community, and the community, what we, the way we define it, that which share the thoughts, vision, and the common purpose and being together, which gets reflected in their relationship among the members of the group. And this community enterprise emphasizes the involvement of the bigger community, not for the specific target group or segment of the community. And community enterprise is managed with the democratic mandate of the community. So the collective this capital raised from the subscription of the equity shares by the community, and this equity share cannot be transferred to cannot be traded beyond these community members. And to maintain this equity, there is a system for single vote for single each shareholder. Sorry. Full screen. Sorry. As you see, this is a Google photograph, and you can see a lot of clear space in this area. These are the aquaculture project in our things, and those you can see the greenish kind of things, which is actually the water hyacinth covered the floodplain. So right now there are more than about 100 floodplain community enterprise-based floodplain in that community, which is producing more than 20,000 metric ton of fish in our per year. Meaning that if you do, like we have a survey in early in 2008, we saw we have a calculation, like if we could cover 1% of the floodplain, means that 28,000 hectares of floodplain, that would contribute 1 million 0.1 million metric ton of fish, more increase of 0.1 million metric ton of fish per year, and which is also benefit 0.1 million households, because what we see here that this per hectare 3.9 household are involved, can be benefited out of this intervention. So these are this is some of the other benefits. I mean, how we distribute the things in the community. There are one way there is a distribution of the net profit. The 20 to 25% of this net profit goes to the landowner, 10% goes to the remuneration of the management people. But what I really like to show that this community enterprise also benefiting the small marginal farmer and landless people in the community. The small and marginal farmer is getting a little bit, I mean, a small dividend or a little bit lease money, lease value. But this is more empowering that they have the opportunity to invest with the big investors or the big stakeholders in the community as well, which is very empowering. And this also addresses the health issue, like it increases the protein and nutritional intake of the poor people, and also the net, I mean, the welfare support of this community enterprise also goes to this the low strata group. But more important thing is the full this underprivileged group or the small stakeholders. They are the full beneficiary. They become the full beneficiary of the employment opportunity and the entrepreneurial opportunity in the backward and forward linkage of the enterprise initiative. This is just a list to show that it is it come out from a study done by Walfish Center that there is 23 different backward and forward linkages created because of this intervention, which create a lot of employment opportunity within the community. This enterprise, community enterprise, also created the opportunity for practicing agroecology through reducing the use of weedicide, pesticide, and chemical fertilizer. And also due to this aquaculture, there are other multiple benefit gained from this intervention, like this market transformation, the strengthen the social cohesion and improvement of the local governance, collective decision-making ability to build a resilient community, increase nutritional intake, and improve gender relationship of the women empowerment, and also the sustainable community development. This is some of the example I just would like to share with you. This, you can see, this is the big floodplain where we are doing this aquaculture in monsoon. And after harvesting, when the water resides, the whole land become very greenish, meaning that very fertile, you can see it. And the community can easily plant, farmers are planting their seedlings without any cleaning cost and other things. In this slide, you can see in the bottom photograph, these are usual photography, I mean, usual context, like in the floodplain after the monsoon, people have to clean up their land like this water hyacinth, it's full of water hyacinth, and then it costs a lot as well. So this whole aquaculture initiatives also help us to promoting this agroecology in a way like it helps for geo cleaning costs. There is no need for tillage. You can plant without any tillage using the soil fertility and soil moisture, and you don't need much fertilizer. And as there is no pest infestation, so you don't need to use the pesticide for this aquaculture. So this is another photograph that the floodplain is just there are water. You can see the fishes are there, and the water is residing, and the farmers start planting their seedlings in the without any irrigation. So, and this whole benefit, I mean, if we count it in a monetary way, this aquaculture also helped to reduce the cost for the burrow cropping. Like per hectare, it reduced 500 USD per hectare for the following burrow cropping season. Beside this, like this intervention also helped to manage the flood water and the groundwater level. Because of this, usually, you know, in the floodplain, the water reside after around October, and then most of this flood water actually run off to the sea without any utilization. But in the floodplain aquaculture, we are holding the water till December, 2-3 months more to get our season for the burrow cropping. That allows you to recharge the groundwater table. And when we are planting without any, with the soil moisture, without any irrigation, that saves the groundwater drawing as well. So it means that in one hand, we are recharging the groundwater more, and we are drawing less groundwater because of this system. This is just a slide we are showing that in 96 compared to 96 and 2008, there are like the groundwater table has increased from like in 1986 it was like 20 meters down the stream. I mean, the groundwater level was under 20 meters, but in 2008, it comes up to the 11 meters. So which is a huge improvement of our groundwater table as well. So this is, beside this, it also helps to conserve the fisheries biodiversity. Usually we are maintaining 10% of our area as a perennial water body to reserve our fish. That helps to survive the brood fish and other wild fishes in that area for conservation purpose. Then finally, it also shared the risk and building resilience of the community, because usually in our Bangladesh and others, this agriculture insurance is not there. So instead of, in absence of this agriculture insurance, any disaster that really is a huge toll for the individual farmers and the smallholder stakeholders. But because of this community enterprise, these risks are shared by the community collectively, so that it helps you to reduce the risk as well as adapt to the changing condition with improved productivity kind of things. And the community enterprise approach also has the potential to accelerate the growth together and instill, it's its inbuilt togetherness and collective governance also help you to build the resilient community. The women are directly involved, are getting the beneficiaries of this project, so that they are involved in backward and forward linkages. They are also the protein intake for women has also increased, finally, the welfare fund is also contributing to setting up the public toilet for that, which is supporting our women for many. Which was a big issue for from their side. And finally, this community enterprise approach is also a good vehicle to outreach the huge members or the target people in a shorter intervention time, so that this awareness program or any other things can reach a bigger number and bigger community, which is also benefiting our women and children health. In conclusion, what we like to share that this unutilized floodplain can be transformed into a resourceful aquaculture that generates income for the community, and integrates this fish with the agriculture, also optimize the use of these resources in agroecological sound manner to ensure sustainable production and consumption. And the process of community mobilization to manage the resource can create more social capital in the community and drive the economic development process from the bottom up. The aquaculture can also provide poor community members access to nutrition fish for low cost and facilitate social development by mandating part of the profit to be invested back in the community. With that, I thank you all for patiently hearing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morshed. I think it's a wonderful project and enterprise. You call it the community enterprise approach, and I think that's been some of the development at the community level, which basically strengthens community action and it's and resilient development. I think that for me was quite interesting and really sustainable. And it also talks about really community, working together. And that has been really a way forward. And the work with the gender, with the women, I think it's also amazing. That you're also, incorporating their demands and, supporting their economic income generation of the women in the community. So thank you very much. So we'll now basically go to the question and answers, but in order to do that, we have to switch off our videos and audios, and then we will migrate to a new process. So we will have about 25 minutes to do the question and answers.